Welcome to the Two Old Goats.
My brothers and sisters.
Yeah, my brothers and sisters. Let's get uncomfortable.
Good deal.
All right.
Got a whole lot. I don't have a whole lot this week. I got a couple of notes.
Well, let's look at your notes. We looked at my notes last time.
Okay. Really, I was just looking over what we read last week, and then I was looking at what we had our mirror post talk about stuff, and mine was a weight goal, and complete all my workouts and things this week, and show up with a minimal amount of bitching.
Right.
You got to admit it's been better.
Right.
I mean, has it? At least for a week.
For this week, yeah.
Okay. There you go. That's it. Just one day at a time, right?
Right. So you're talking about the third challenge, or is this the second challenge?
This was the second challenge.
Okay.
That when we put the notes on our mirrors and stuff like that. But the one that is my big note is to, continue working on flipping this depression. And because that's kind of what I've been going through. But like I said, as of last week or whatever, well, now it's been a few weeks. I'm on a pretty solid path, and it's getting better. Okay, quite a bit better. But that idea of which is I wanted to talk about in our book, page 25. It talks about changing our whole attitude. The way we think about things, the basic way we think about things. And so, that's kind of where, what I'm thinking. And to even take that a little further, I'll let you talk for a minute and then we can read it or whatever you want to do.
Okay.
But to take that a little bit further is just how much that little paragraph in the book, I think a lot of times we read over it or we kind of understand it, we take it for granted, but we don't realize how deep it is. How and not just deep. I mean, it's so useful.
Right.
That's the big thing. And so anyway, that's where I am.
Well, let's read that chapter or that paragraph.
Yeah, it's 25. It's a Carl Jung. Was working with Abby Thatcher. But anyway, they're talking about it. Back in the day before AA, if you showed up at the hospital or something as an alcoholic and that was your problem, they'd pretty much pat you on the butt and send you on your way because they didn't have a solution, and they knew it. And so anyway, over a period of time, and then some stuff, AA came along, stuff like that. But a big part of the study came from Carl Jung across the ocean, from Abby Thatcher, one of Bill Wilson's friends. Anyway, I'm just going to read this. You don't need to know the rest of the story, but the great fact is just this and nothing less, that we have had deep, effective spiritual experience. I'm the wrong one. That's true too. Here I am, sorry. Page 27. And this is where Abby's asking the doctor. The doctor basically told him, you're screwed. Abby's asking him, is there no way out? Or is there no exceptions? Yes, there is. Exceptions in cases such as yours have been occurring since early times. Here and there, once in a while, alcoholics have had what are called vital spiritual experiences. To me, these occurrences are phenomena. In other words, we don't understand them. They appear to be in the nature of huge emotional displacements and rearrangements. Ideas, emotions, and attitudes, which were once the guiding forces of the lives of these men, are suddenly cast to one side, and a completely new set of conceptions and motives begin to dominate them. In fact, I've been trying to produce such emotional rearrangements within you. So, that's the way I'm attacking this, is I'm going back to the real basic stuff, and I'm looking at it from the opposite of what I feel like looking at it from.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I do. Well, let's hold on to that page because I want to break that paragraph down a little bit. But I want to get back to that word that you were talking about that you've been. Um, I don't know. I always look at challenges as blessings.
Yeah.
So that word depression,
Mm-hmm.
right? I hear it quite a bit out there on the streets. Chronic depression, clinical depressed. Um, then of course then you have the other part of it, the anxiety, which I believe are just they're hand in hand. The way I look at them, they both are limiting you from living.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just looking at those words and understanding not it it's not just a mental thing, right? That's the part. It's almost like
Well, I think it starts for me. It starts from physical, and then it gets mental.
yeah.
For that.
You think so?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
big time.
Okay. You're talking about the chemicals.
Yeah, the hormones.
Okay.
Yeah. My freaking testosterone drops so low.
Mm-hmm.
Then you don't have the strength or the energy or want to do anything, and that doesn't set right with my spirit.
Right.
My spirit is get your ass out of bed. What are you doing laying here burning daylight?
Mm-hmm.
And so that starts this vicious cycle in my head of guilt or whatever you want to fucking call it, but that and just having to literally drag through it. But I think I'm on to something because the energy's starting to come. And I think too, another topic that we can get to, we can talk about the muse, but if you do the work, I think it's going to come. And that's what I'm counting on.
Okay.
That's been my experience in the past. And so, I just have to make a hard turn back to the basics, and this is what we do.
So then I guess then we can agree that there's probably two forms or two, I guess it'd be catalysts of the depression.
That we know of.
Right?
I think it's a little bit of everything.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, food, everything.
There's a lot of different things. There's the chemical part, and then also the brain part, which then ensues a chemical part, right?
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, there's a chemical imbalance to which the thought of the solution or the thought of actually doing something is depressed, literally pushed down, right? And then that's when the response to it, physical or mental, the response to it's going to be a physical, right? I don't want to get up. I don't want to do anything, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, even mental. I mean, I didn't want to sit down and answer emails.
Okay.
Or I didn't want to have to think about work or anything, or paying a bill, or you know what I mean.
Right.
That's how. I don't know, but anyway, I'm not claiming it. I'm saying I was experiencing it.
Right.
It was hopefully a short season, but I am acknowledging that some work needs to be done. And kind of the reason I wanted to tie it back to what I read earlier is because those attitudes and those things, if you think about it or realize it, all that work is in here.
Right.
It's not out there work. I've worked with a lot of alcoholics and other people that need help that, when they get to us, they hate their job. They're tired of their wife. She's a pain in the ass. Their kids are driving them crazy, blah, blah, blah. And then we work with them for a little bit, and within maybe 90 days, usually, they love their job. Their wife's awesome.
Right.
And they can't wait to get back to their kids and do stuff with their kids and stuff like that. The wife, the kids, the job, none of that changed.
Right.
That's what the change was on the inside. And I think sometimes we want to get all woo-woo or whatever you call it whenever we just need to go back and realize, oh shit, I'm at a point where I need to make a change on the inside just like I'm brand new.
Right. Okay.
That's my thought.
No, and that's where I want to go with that is, you're right, absolutely. First and foremost, don't ever call it my.
Right.
It's not my depression, my
No, hell no.
anxiety, right?
Right.
So eliminate that. There is an opportunity here, and when you're dealing with the challenges of depression, either it be with the chemical or the mental or the emotional or whatever ensued, whatever pushed you into that mindset, right? Of physically not wanting to do something, mentally not wanting to do something. In that paragraph, if we actually break that down, it coexists with the program that we run, right? Ultimately, we have to have that spiritual experience, right? Once you have that spiritual experience, as the book talks about, the mind and the body will align itself.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's the whole goal of the book,
Right.
is to have the spiritual experience.
Have the spiritual experience, which then ensues the mind and the body to realign.
Right.
Right.
As we heal spiritually, everything else takes care of itself pretty much.
Right.
I mean, we have to do stuff, but
yeah,
pretty much takes care of itself.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind,
yeah, please.
We'll look at this here. So one of the miracles in here that I was reading, so it says, to me, these occurrences are phenomena. They're talking about the spiritual experiences, right? We're not talking about the human experiences. Right now, you're having a human challenge, right? In order to get out of that human challenge, you have to have that spiritual experience, which means you have to have a moment. Okay? You have to have a moment, and you have to see that moment to where I need to do something different. I have to do something different, right? That's what they're talking about, is having that moment. Now, once that happens, it says here, appear to be in the nature of huge emotional displacements and rearrangements. Ideas, emotions, and attitudes, which were once the guiding force of the lives of these men, are suddenly cast to one side. So here we're talking about your thoughts, the emotions, your attitudes, all of that stuff. In that moment, what's ever holding you down gets cast aside. That's your spiritual experience. Then the interesting thing is it comes back, right? It says here, in fact, I have been trying to produce it with him. And he talks about how the emotions are no longer part of the equation. Now we're just talking about conceptions and motives.
Well, he uses 3 words up here, and Bill Wilson's not a person to leave out a word.
Right. So he talks about ideas, emotions, and attitudes, and down here he just talks about conceptions and motives.
Correct.
So it's just the 2 words.
Right.
Right. So
the ideas are the conceptions, and the motives are the attitudes.
Are the attitudes.
And he don't give a shit about how you feel about it,
Correct.
Which was up above.
And that goes in with.
And that's a God thing.
Of course it is.
I'm telling you, that's one of the things that I pin the fact that I believe this book is divinely inspired, because I know the guy who wrote it. Because I'm the guy who, I'm just like him, and he would have put something in there.
Right. I totally agree. Well, and that's the thing is I know you had shared with me early on in my sobriety. You said that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I believe the emotional part of that is the human experience. We are to feel, experience emotions, okay? But those are those things that are supposed to flow through us. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel horny. It's okay to feel those things, right? As long as you don't grab a hold of them, because then you're going to strangle them, and then what ensues the depression and the anxiety.
Right. Or even, I think, making one of them your goal.
Right. I just want to be happier.
I just want to be happy. Yeah. You hear that all the time, and I like what our friend Don Pritz used to say. He goes, all these guys tell me they want to be happy, and they're looking to be happy, and he would just say, well, look, I hate to tell you, but there's no such thing as happy. So you're just going to have to learn to be happy without it. That's it.
Right. That makes sense.
That's it. 100%.
So so going back to, you're absolutely right. It's not that we are to remove the emotions out of our life. I'm not stating that, but they need to be out of our decision making, out of the drive that we have.
Right.
Right.
Well, one of the things it talks about in the book and that describing us, it says we can't, we have on page 52, we're having trouble controlling our emotional nature.
Correct.
That's what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Or frothy emotional appeal.
Right. We're letting the emotions rule. In the second part of this,
mm-hmm.
You don't care about your emotions. Do the right thing.
Right. So now going back to the challenge of depression and anxiety, when the emotional key is still in that equation, it's very difficult to get out of that. You have to first remove it, have that spiritual experience, have that moment of shit, I need to do something different. And then another word's going to come into play that I believe is probably one of the most spiritual words: discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That has no emotional appeal. That has no emotional drive. That is purely ass up, getting going, doing your shit. And as Mike Tyson says, do the shit you hate as if you love it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's true discipline. Right? So that right there is what they're talking about, the rearrangement. Right? The conceptions and the motives begin to dominate you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's that obsession that you've been using, that you like so much.
Right.
From our David Goggins book.
Yeah.
You have to be obsessed with it.
Well, in the right way. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. If we just let whatever control our emotional nature, however the wind blows, or whoever the last pissed off person we talked to was, we're going to be all over the place.
Right.
And that's something that there's no need. We have to take control of it, but it's an inside job. It's not me saying, "Oh, I'm not going to be emotional about it."
Right.
And I feel like, the more I've thought about this, I feel like I have a cheat code because, and I don't like it. It's everybody's thinks they would love to have it, but it's not that. And I think it's the fact that I've been in the program and I've worked it, better than I can do it by myself because I have help in this deal. Mm-hmm. But whenever I get to a point in my life that's like it kicks in automatically, even against my will, if I'm not thinking about it.
Right.
Like, 5 or 7 years ago, I was, when I was going through a bunch of stuff, I knew I needed to sit down and write out an inventory.
Right.
But I wasn't going to do it because the 3 people that were, probably the closest to me in my life were the only 3 on my list. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't going to give them the fucking satisfaction of, because they were fucking wrong. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, series of circumstances. The next thing you know, I'm sitting down in a Luby's by myself in the middle of the afternoon, and I'm sitting there thinking I'm not going to do it. I don't have anything to write on, and I look over in my briefcase, and there's a pad sticking out. I don't have no pen, no pencil. Some waitress walks up with 50 pens across her apron.
All right.
So I'm sitting there writing, saying I'm not going to do this, and actually just carried me through the writing out the whole inventory, and then went through the steps with my sponsor, or went through that with my sponsor, and even on one of those amends that I had to make, because just so you know, whenever you have to sit down and write an inventory, guess what? Guess whose part you're responsible for?
Only yours.
Only yours. So I'm going to be making amends. And if I don't go make my amends, what the hell was the point of the inventory?
Right.
So anyway, one of them, I'm driving to it because I scheduled the appointment, and I still can't figure out what I was wrong about or what my problem was. Mm-hmm. And, by the time I get there, God put it in my head. It was about grace and how much grace I was afforded just to be here, just to enjoy the life that I have and all that. I didn't earn a bunch of that shit. I worked against it, and God still gave it to me. So anyway, I think that's kind of what happened in this situation. Is I just get to the point where the program, this whatever the spirit takes over,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not up to me anymore.
Right.
And it kind of feels like a cheat code. It sucks getting to that point, and because one of the things that I think is paramount to what this paragraph is talking about is it's a surrender point.
Right.
And I mean a complete surrender. And we learned in Wild at Heart that John Eldridge, that when does God show up? God shows up when all is lost.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am to save the day.
Yeah.
But I think there's a reason for that, and the reason is because we finally run out of self.
Right.
And we're so far away from ourselves that God says, "Gotta help."
Well, that, and if you look at all the amazing inspirational stories that you read, right? Mm-hmm. It always starts with releasing. It's always about submitting. Mm. They have to submit whatever they're going through.
To the discipline, to the practice, to the whatever it is.
They have to let go of that emotional meat hook of whatever it is, or multiple things, whatever, right? They are. And once that happens, then that's when the discipline ensues, which is, I think you and I were walking on the beach that one time down in Galveston, and the definition of discipline is the outward sign of an inward commitment, right? That's that obsessed. That's all I think about is the discipline of doing what I need to be doing, right? And the action part of that inward commitment is the discipline. The waking up at 4:15 when you don't fucking want to wake up at 4:15, but you don't have a choice because the depression, the anxiety, the emotions, the whatever you're dealing with isn't on the table anymore, right? Your tools for survival are wake up at this time, go do this activity, talk to this person, make this kind of phone call, read this book, right? Do those actions, right? And that's when you have the discipline.
Yeah. Well, the actions being the outward signs,
right?
That we do have that inner commitment, and you know how important that is because we think so selfishly. I mean, I think, oh, outward signs, that means people can see I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. Not so much that as it is I'm being held accountable because of the way I think about it, and we don't know who's watching. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody needs to see two fat white guys at the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Every day.
Right. And, or out there on a bike. That was I told you the deal at the park where I saw the guy come out and he had all this nice bike stuff and bike helmet. And there was a trail bike and he gets on and he's got this big old gut. And I'm like, oh, man, you had me for a minute. And that's when I thought, oh, shit, that's me.
Right. I hear you.
Yeah, that's God. See, that's the kind of stuff where it wasn't up to me now. Right. Okay, I know. Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah, that reminds me. I did it's an adventure triathlon. Basically, you swim a lake and you mountain bike on trails in the woods, and then you run in the woods on trails, right? And they took a picture of me coming down the hill on my bike. And I'm so fucking fat that you don't see the bike.
I didn't see that one. Where the you hadn't been showing that picture around. No, I hadn't seen it.
No, nobody sees that shit. I was like, where's the bike?
I'm getting our Instagram page up. Okay. So we'll have to post it on Instagram.
I can't find it. It's somehow it got deleted or it's lost somewhere.
Okay.
But see, that's the thing that, that discipline is the key to responding to the spiritual experience. I think they come together, right? The spiritual experience is the moment of, oh shit, I need to let this shit go. right? Because I'm dying. That's literally what you're doing. You're physically dying, chemically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, whatever it is, you're fucking dying. And once you let go and you start just doing, going back to this challenge too, putting those your daily goals up on the mirror. I did not want to go to the gym yesterday when I woke up at 4:15, and I went in to go turn off my alarm, and I looked up and there was all my notes around my mirror. I was like, shit, one of them's right there. I got to go to the gym. I got to be there. So I said, fuck it, let's go. And the whole way there, I was like, I don't want to be there. I have no desire whatsoever. But then,
I feel that every day.
right?
But I didn't want to say that because I'm trying to not complain.
No, it's not that I'm complaining. It's the truth.
I
Don't want to.
Yeah, because I've been a little bitch lately. So.
I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there.
Well, not lately, but a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. But I know for a fact that once I get there and I start doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and that afterwards, I feel so amazing the rest of the day.
Yeah, because I'm glad that shit's over with.
Right? But that's the thing is we see. You always talk about the mind having no place in our lives. It's useless, right?
100%.
Okay. Socrates said it all. The mind has we don't need it.
Have no use for it.
Right. And that's basically what you're doing. When you wake up at 4:15 to get to the gym or take that cold shower, do your meditation, or whatever it is that's on your mirror, right? That right there is the discipline. That right there is you're telling the mind to fuck off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm in charge. You're no longer in charge. You fucked with this too long, right? And then and only then is when you start removing the shackles of depression and anxiety, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, though. I don't know a lot about that, but I know with what I'm going through and all that, that's my answer. Because I'm not taking a bunch of handful of pills and shit like that. So I mean, I don't have to. I think this is working. So, but it's like you said, it's about the action when you don't want to, and even further to your point. Goggins calls it, he does a lot of shit he doesn't like to do or want to do. He calls it callousing his mind.
Right.
And I think our brain, there was a study about it, Huberman was talking about, I have no clue. But anyway, basically, when you do stuff that you don't want to do, it does actually change something in your brain.
Right.
And it makes it easier to do stuff that you don't want to do.
And all the greats in this world have learned how to do that.
Yeah, well, I agree. Or they just, even if they found something that they're passionate about, there's times when you probably don't want to do it, but you have to or want to.
Well,
need to.
There's two factors, right? I've seen some greats have no emotional whatsoever. They just do. Okay. Then there are those that have learned to callous the mind, but they utilize the emotions as fuel. Right? Like Michael Jordan. Go talk shit to him.
Oh, he would make up shit.
Right?
He's famous for that.
Yeah. He looked at me wrong. He said something.
Yeah, he disrespected my mom.
Right?
And the guy never did anything.
Yeah, I don't know. Right? So same thing with David Goggins. He talks about his cookie jar. Right? He takes those emotional experiences and utilizes it as fuel while he's in the disciplined state of mind, right? That discipline, the action of the inner commitment, right? And that fuels him to go even further and harder, right? So that's it.
Well, good stuff. I mean, the last thing that occurs to me is I mentioned a little bit about the muse from The Art of War. No, The War of Art.
War of Art.
Do you remember the author's name?
Mm-mm.
I don't remember it. I'll put it in the notes or something. But anyway, whenever you read what he's doing, there's a real system to it,
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of reminds me of our steps. There is a system to it. And there's a process, and you get in the process. But the big thing is you commit to doing the work, and you get up and do the work.
Right.
One of the big things, whether you want to or not. If you're a writer, he uses that because he's a writer. He schedules, this is what time I sit down to write, and my butt doesn't get out of the chair until a certain time. And he calls it a lot of things, but I think it ties into what we're talking about, the discipline, the whatever. The other part of it I see, and whenever we relate it to this and my experience is, we get to that point of surrender. And one of my favorite sayings, I hadn't thought of this in a long time, but just thinking about how much I hate it, I don't like being there,
mm-hmm.
is we called it, remember we used to call it uncivilized surrender.
Yes.
Because it ain't civilized looking when I get here. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm a mess. So uncivilized surrender. But when I get to that part, it just starts taking over. It's the spirit in me. We talked about God doing good works in us, and it just continues whether we like it or not.
Right.
And I feel like, that's part of it. But what I notice is, okay, I'll do the physical things. I'll do the outward sign. Mm-hmm. I will commit to the gym, to this, to that, the diet. As I do those things, I'm getting further away from me. You know what I mean?
I do.
And it's like the further away from me I get, it's weird, the better I feel.
Right.
The better I feel, a lot of those other emotions start going away. And then, here's the big one, hope. Fucking hope comes back. It's
right.
Like, oh, I feel a little bit better. Maybe something's working. At least I know the effort.
Right.
And that's what he talks about. You make the effort on a regular basis, consistently, show up, and then he calls it the muse. Mm-hmm. I call it the spirit. But I think it's something real.
Right.
I don't think it's some woo-woo stuff. I think it's in the vibrations or whatever that you like to talk about, and we have to get to that level, and we do, then all of a sudden,
right.
There's relief.
Then the phenomenon starts happening.
Right, the phenomenon.
The shit that we can't explain.
Right. Well, and I think I don't know. I think it's something real. I used to think, oh, that's just some voodoo stuff. But the more I learn and the more I go through a lot of this, it's not voodoo. It's really, a lot of it's just physical, and it's making the effort, and it's changing on the inside. And that's what they're talking about in this paragraph. I make the effort, the inside changes, and then we're wondering what the hell happened.
Right.
So,
well, I think I'm gonna get a little deep on this one.
Good.
Okay. That whole concept of the miracles, the phenomenon happening, things like that, where now you can start literally controlling it to a certain extent that that if I do the discipline, if I submit, release, let go of the emotional bullshit, right? And just do what I'm supposed to do, then all of a sudden that freedom comes, those miracles comes, all that shit that we talk about, all that hope, right? Everything's there, but we got to break through. And the only way we can break through is by releasing of our bullshit, us, right? We get to that other side. Then and only then do you have the true experience of the I am as the I am, the true creator. You're creating. There it is.
That's it. You said it well. If I can get enough of me out of the way,
there's the I am.
There's the I am.
I just got to get me out of there.
That's right.
I like it.
I agree.
Shit, I think we just solved the fucking world problems right there. That's it.
If they would only listen.
Right? Surely the rapture's to come now. Yeah. If just half of you guys would listen, the whole lot of you would be better.
Right.
I like that.
And we know this is not the answer you want, because it's not the answer we want either. No, at least for me.
No.
I wanted to be out uncontrolled and everybody going, look at him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his shit wired together. And
Absolutely.
blah, blah, blah.
No, I mean, I wanted to be the guy that watches sports all the time, sits on his ass, no real drive in life. I'm just here, right? But it was fucking killing me,
Yeah.
And I think Joe Rogan, I don't know if he coined it or someone, but most men live in quiet desperation.
No, that goes back
Further than that.
Yeah,
I remember listening on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Most men live in quiet desperation.
Mm-hmm.
And that desperation, that's the depression and the anxiety that we're talking about.
Yeah, right? It's not, you know what it is? We brought it up briefly last week a couple times, but their spirit is activated. Mm-hmm. Inside of them, their spirit is going, this isn't right. This way we're living and thinking is not for a man.
Right.
And that's the battle that's going on inside of them. And that's our book calls it restless, irritable, and discontent. But I think for normal people, that's what that is.
Well, and that's for me, that's when my life really started changing. When I wasn't doing the norm of what men are supposed to be doing, which slowly was killing me.
Yeah.
Right. And then I started getting outside. I started doing more stuff. I started committing that inside, right? My actions were committing to certain activities and denying those other activities that were killing me. The watching of the TV, the news, sitting there on Instapot and TikTok and all that shit. All those activities were killing me. And for the first time in my life now, I'm actually living. And I feel amazing, and that's cool is when we're sitting down and having conversations, that's where I get, well, I'm going to go off a little tangent here. I get frustrated. I think I've talked about it before when people talk about nothing, right? We had a conversation last night. There was a young man that was dying, right, of alcoholism right in front of our eyes. And we're talking about the solution. We're talking about the insanity of the first drink, right? We're talking about that stuff. And then there was a little bit of conversations about bullshit, about what the fuck is on the news.
Politics.
And what the fuck is going on.
Right.
And that irritated me a little bit, but I looked at the young man and he didn't hear that shit anyways.
No.
So it didn't fucking matter.
Right.
But the truth was, I just, if you're not doing this, if you're not submitting to a power greater than yourself and obsessing on your discipline, I believe you're truly missing out on the true human experience that we're sent here to have. You're missing out.
Yeah.
You really are. So
maybe I'm restating what you just said, but it was evident in that conversation because, like I said before, whenever we're together anytime and there's a newcomer around, that's the Super Bowl.
Right.
I mean, that's the Super Bowl for us.
You're talking about the spiritual fluency.
That
was our fucking moment, right?
Exactly. That's what I mean. So you could see the people who, needed some work in that area.
Yeah.
And the people who were like dialed in on the new guy, not dialed in like, oh, the meeting's all about you and we're going to embarrass the shit out of you so you don't ever want to come back, but dialed in on, dude, join us. We're here to help you. And, we love you and we've all been where you are. Da, 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 da.
Right.
And to me, that was the best meeting I've been to in a long time.
I agree. I was just telling little Chrissy, I called him, which, by the way, little Chrissy has a bad case of vagitosis.
Oh, yeah, I heard.
A bad case of vagitosis.
Yeah, he was at the gynecologist getting it checked out.
Yeah, it was a serious case. But I was letting him know that he missed out on old school program.
Old school AA.
Old school AA. Like, this is what they did with Bill, just open up the doors, bunch of drunks getting together and just sharing the solution, sharing their experience, giving somebody fucking hope.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Based off of their experiences, based off of where they were at and where they are now.
Yeah.
You know, it's
It
beautiful.
reminds me of a time earlier on in my sobriety. I was a few years sober. One of my mentors in the program was Robert Griffin, and he passed on to the big meeting in the sky. So anyway, but we were standing outside the meeting, and we used to have the meeting before the meeting, and then we go to the meeting, and then we had the meeting after the meeting, and then sometimes we go out to eat after that.
Right.
And we were standing out front, and it was time to go in. Talking, time to go in. Everybody starts going in. Well, this car drives up. One of our guys that had, as far as we knew at that time, had about 3 or 4 years sober.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when he got out of the car, it was obvious he didn't anymore. And so I was, starting to go in or whatever, but Robert turned around to me and goes, "You don't go nowhere." He goes, "Come on, let's go." And so we met the guy out in the parking lot and talked to him for a little bit. And I'm kind of halfway thinking I'm supposed to be in the meeting and that kind of stuff. And then after about 10 minutes, I was like, it occurred to me, well, that's what all this is about. It's not about going to the meeting. It's about this guy right here.
Yeah.
Because I am that guy right there. I was that guy right there when I got here.
Right.
And so we spent the whole time talking to him. Mm-hmm. And, the guy's alive and sober today. He's been free for several years. But, that's the spiritual fluency.
I agree.
That's the examples. And thank God for the examples and the shoulders I get to stand on. And that's why I say all the time, we don't know who's looking.
Right.
All we know is, you call and you really want help, we're showing up.
Exactly.
That's it.
Well, I know it expresses itself really well in the chapter Vision for You, where it talks about why the meetings were even created, right? Why the doors started opening up, why we're just going out there, and it goes back to what we're talking here is we're getting rid of ourselves, get ourselves out of the way, submitting to a discipline, right, that takes care of the inside, right? And then all of a sudden, all this shit starts happening, all these amazing experiences. And then that's where it continues, right? Because we continue to have those spiritual experiences, those spiritual awakenings, and then we have more. And then all of a sudden, the more fluency, because now we're coming up with another opportunity to share with somebody else. And had we not had the experience before, we wouldn't be able to have the experience now, right? And now the human part of things is riddled with those depressions and the anxieties and the emotional turmoils, right? But I think that's where the spirit is to trump the human, right? It's hey guys, you're missing the fucking point. We're down here to smell the roses, have a little fun, enjoy it.
Experience.
Right?
Experience.
But you're not supposed to hold on to this shit.
Well, but you're supposed to experience and enjoy God's creation.
Right.
And see, by experiencing it and seeing it, you can see God. You can see the work. You can see the...
But you're not supposed to grab it and say, fucking that's mine.
That's mine. No. Or I did this. Right. I did that.
Yeah. Look what I created.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always thought about that too, as all these sacrifices and stuff. I'm like, God, if y'all really mean what you say, God made everything. He made all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's like my kids going and getting a pair of shoes out of my closet and wrapping it up and giving it to me and say, "Happy Father's Day."
That is exactly what it is.
I mean, I don't know. Just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Craziness, I guess.
Now, I do believe that's a human part of things.
I
don't think God actually wants you to wrap up his shoes and give them back to him.
Yeah, I mean,
he'd rather you put them on and go.
Right, he created all this. What can I give him?
He wants you to put them on and go experience them.
That's it.
Put those shoes on. Let's go.
Yeah. Go climb them. Go on a hike with a hill in it. That's the sad part about around here. You can't. It's hard to get ready to go.
Yeah.
Even Paladera Canyon, which was cool, but just the hiking where there's hills and stuff. I wasn't ready. My heart rate went.
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I went to Austin a little while ago. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go do my 4 mile walk.
Not up and
No,
down those hills.
no,
Uh-uh.
I made a mile and a half. I go, that's about 4.
Yeah.
It's just
It's up and down, up and down.
So
I hear
a
you.
whole nother world. All right, well, I think that's it, man. I think we figured it out. It's all about discipline.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. And just changing, changing from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Attitudes, ideas.
Yeah.
That
So
has to change.
here's one thing that was taught to me, and Richard knows this very good as well. When you're in those moments of depression, one thing that helps out is look around you. You see somebody that has something that you want. And we're not talking about a fancy car or anything like that. Talking about their attitude, the way they see things, the way they do things. You look at their actions, and that's what you want. You want to say, that's what I want. Okay. Then you obsess and you discipline yourself to do those actions. Okay. Pick up one of these books. We got Living with the Seal. We got David Goggins. There's Cam Haynes. There's so many amazing books out there of people that have truly embraced the suck, truly have embraced the discipline, and that is the cure for your spiritual malady, for your spiritual sickness, is the discipline.
The beginning.
And then go experience and continue it.
Cool.
All right. That's it, y'all.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Yes. Peace out.